Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the RK Leadership Podcast, where we empower tomorrow's leaders through the sharing of knowledge, experience, and inspiring stories. I'm Rob Cameronpour, your host, and today my very special guest is Bob Carrothers, and he's the Master Chair of Vistage Worldwide and a well-renowned leadership coach. Before we get to you, Bob, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for being on my podcast and sharing your stories and knowledge with the folks out there. Again, welcome to the podcast, Bob.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. So why don't we start off by you telling us about your journey and how you got to where you are today?
I started out, I had three companies, all involved. It's a weird business in the animal guts business.
Ah,
We were traders. We bought and sold livers, lungs, kidneys, all that stuff from a packing house, pork, chicken, ducks. I mean everything. And we would buy productions of them and then resell them to people that used them, like primarily pet food companies. And
interesting.
so I was in that business. I kind of got bored with it and had an idea for a new business. So my management team bought me out of the company and I pursued the new business. I thought it couldn't fail, and it failed miserably. I lost a lot of money. And along the way, I had been a member of one of these groups. And part of the reason my business failed is I didn't listen to them. I was too arrogant. I knew my idea couldn't fail, right? And I didn't listen to any advice, and it just wiped me out. So I know the importance of these groups, and so when I was looking for another thing to do, position to do, I reached out to my old Vistage group leader, which is what we call chairs, and he talked to the headquarters in San Diego, and they just happened to be looking for a new person in Denver and called me right away and then flew me to San Diego to the World Conference, and I just fell in love with it. So that was in 1996, and I've been doing it ever since.
Nice. Amazing. That's definitely a great story, Bob. And over the years, how have you seen the demand of CEOs and C-suite executives evolve?
How's the what demand?
Yeah, how have you seen the demands on CEOs and C-suite executives evolve?
Well, the speed of change now is incredible,
Hmm.
and I think that is putting more demand on them than anything, is how to adjust, how to incorporate it in their businesses wherever they can, how to deal with the unintended consequences of a lot of this stuff. And it takes more and more caring and empathy and leadership, true leadership, to navigate these waters. And so that puts a lot of stress on a CEO,
That's right.
you know, where we didn't used to, and we used to have rotary telephones. I don't think it was near as bad.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Bob, like over the almost 30 years or 3 decades of doing this, what have
Mhm.
you seen is the trend of what CEOs are missing in terms of leadership traits?
It depends on the CEO. There's certain traits that will make them better and better leaders. There's buzzwords now like vulnerability and that's one of them. But there's um, there's so many traits that they have to do well, and that's increasing too to reach the different levels of leadership.
That's
And
right.
so we work with leaders of all levels. I mean, my group, we have companies of 5 million with 15 employees, and I have CEOs with 300 employees and doing 150 million. So it's at all levels. Each one of those demands different things.
That's right. Now, again, somebody in a C-suite, executive leadership level, um, how do they come to terms that they require coaching? Because again, if you're at that level, some people will assume that, you know it all and you're an expert leader, etc. How do they find themselves, coming in tune that they need to go and seek help or seek some coaching?
I think it's a kind of a misconception.
Hmm.
My members, the companies that come to me aren't broken. They don't need help. They're they're doing a great job as a leader now. They just want to get better.
Mm.
And it's lonely being at the top of a company, extremely lonely. And they're seeking um, conversations with other CEOs. Usually a CEO's neighbor next door doesn't have a clue what he does or she does. And they want to be with like-minded individuals that understand the shoes they're walking in. So they'll seek us out or be talk to one of our members who will refer them, whatever, because they're looking to improve their companies and grow their companies faster and have happier home lives. It's not just business.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a place where a lot of struggling happens as well due to the demands of work, obviously, right?
Right, right.
So, Bob, can you describe a particularly transformative experience you facilitated for a CEO group at Vistage?
Oh boy. Um, that I facilitated. We had a very interesting conversation one day. I found it fascinating. And two of the members had just had liquidity events that put them in give it stuff money to where they never had to worry about money again.
Mm.
They didn't have to work a day in their lives. They had money to leave. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars. And so the discussion was, what's next?
Mm.
You know, what's the, we've climbed one mountain. Do we want to go climb other mountains? Why? We've already done this. And it was like, the discussion was around what helped me figure out what the next steps in my life are. And it turned out just an incredible discussion I learned tons from. And it was transformative for a lot of the members because they were looking into the future.
Mm.
That was going to be them someday.
That's
And
right.
so it caused an awful lot of thought and great questions. And I thought that was the most amazing discussion we've had in the group. We've had many, but that's just one that comes to mind.
Excellent. So, Bobby, we also see now a lot of younger folks getting into that CEO level in space. Now, everyone's got a shelf life in a company, a new board comes in or whatever it may be, and there's changes. What happens to those young CEOs that, leave a company or are forced to leave a company? And again, the market is so small for them to find another job. What's your advice to those people?
Don't give up.
Mm.
You know, if they want to be a CEO, sometimes you have to start at the bottom. You don't start out as a CEO
That's right.
and realize that there's a there's a trail you have to follow. The lucky ones are the 20-year-olds that whatever that have a great idea. They go out and get a bunch of venture capital, get a bunch of money, and maybe it takes off. The chances of that are like me becoming the Michael Jordan of the NBA.
Yeah.
It's so rare. Um, that don't give up, keep working at it, read, hone your skills, take a job that can teach you, take a lower level job and work into middle management, work up the ladder. It's going to take time. If you're going to start your company, If you want to found one, you figure that's the easiest way to do it. Sure, you can go online and set up an LLC and nothing, and now you're a CEO. That's great, but the rest is the hard part.
That's right.
So you have to that there's a lot of cost at that one too.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So,
Hmm.
as yourself being the CEO of three companies and the founder, what are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned in from your entrepreneurship journey?
Oh, my people were the most important thing I had,
Yeah.
and I think I undervalued that and didn't treat them as well as I should have. Don't lose sight of the culture of the business.
Mhm.
Culture is king. It, it's everything.
That's right.
So I don't think I paid much attention to culture at that time. So we were kind of all over the board. And then my arrogance, don't let that just destroyed me. I had great people and I didn't appreciate them as I should have. So that's a few things.
Awesome. Now you talked about culture, Bob.
Hmm.
What is your advice to people going out and trying to build a culture, that company culture? Where do they start, and what's the important aspect of that culture?
I think it starts with the leadership.
Yes.
If it's an entrepreneur, it's his values or her values that are important. And then they have to enlist their employees in their values. I think if you leave it up to the employees to come up with a culture, it might be a set that are totally different from the founders or the CEO's wishes.
That's right.
And then you come up with the words. You always go in a place and they have 5 words on the wall or 27 words on the wall, and they say those are our core values. And you ask them to recite them, they don't have a clue.
Yes.
They don't have a clue. And I think you take no more than 5
Mhm.
core values and you define them. The definition is the most important part. You can say integrity, everybody's got integrity, but what does that really mean to this company?
Yes.
And that's where you get your team involved. How do we define these? And then you live by them. You should you should fire employees for violating culture. You could
Mm.
say the way your actions are totally against our culture and we have to part ways, you
Mm.
know. You're acting out of integrity or you are not acting in a caring manner for the other employees, whatever you sign them, but you also got to enforce them.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
You know, I love hearing you say that, Bob. I think again, like you said, a lot of people have these plaques and nice words on the wall, but you have to walk the talk, and
That's
that
right.
again starts with your leadership, the people at the top, right?
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So I want you to go back to the time, you were a young CEO of your startup company. Now,
Hmm.
we have the same scenario, Bob, where a lot of people are getting into entrepreneurship and, they've started this journey on their own.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts again on are all entrepreneurs are all entrepreneurs leaders, and should they step out of their own way and hire somebody to, run the organization, and they're kind of the brains behind the operation instead of
Right.
doing everything?
No, my thoughts are all entrepreneurs are not leaders. Some of them are terrible leaders, and they have to realize they're where they're lacking
Hmm.
and find somebody to do it. But often the companies are so young, they don't have the money to do it.
Yes.
So for the entrepreneur that started it, go figure it out. Read books on leadership, listen to podcasts, listen to others that are walking the thing. Find a mentor, you know, find a mentor that can help you with the journey and be serious about it. And as your company grows and you can afford better and better people, stretch, hire the best you can get for what you can afford, and learn from them. They will teach you. And you, as the company grows, you'll just be able to add better and better leaders, and you will evolve into a great leader.
That's right. Absolutely. So again, let's say, Bob, you're forced to, or you're faced to hire some leaders for your organizations. What do you look for when you're hiring, young leaders?
Humility. I look for vulnerability, of course. I look for people with a strategic mindset,
Hmm.
to where they can look into the future. They have the ability to look into the future. For some people, the future is 1 week.
Yeah.
For a factory worker, it might be 1 day. And so you have to interview and determine their level of thinking, how they can it's time span thinking, what their time span is. Um, you have to see how they're a fit for the culture.
Yeah.
That's more than anything. Are they a cultural fit? Um, do they do they have the talent to do this? Do they have the knowledge to do it? What new things would they bring to the company is another one. What
Hmm.
are they going to do? What's their plan for growing this company? If they were CEO of this company or COO or whatever, where would they see their in a C-level position? Where do they see how they fit and how they contribute? I mean, there's a lot of interview questions, and just be slow to hire and and go through different interview processes. Take them to dinner to see how they are in public. Um,
Yes.
have their key reports, interview them and talk to them. I mean, there's a whole lot of things, but you've got to be really purposeful and deliberate in hiring for that position.
Amazing. Now you talked about the dinner example. Have you ever
Mhm.
done that yourself, where you've taken somebody out for lunch or dinner, and you've had some perception of them prior to going into
Right.
that dinner or lunch, and when you came out, everything changed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Take them to dinner, and sometimes they drink way too much.
Ah,
That's a good tell.
yeah.
I like them to bring their wives
Mm,
so that the wives can get a perception. You can get a perception of how they're going to be socially with your clients.
wow.
You know, it's all a learning. It's all about learning as much as you can about that person.
Very good. Interesting. I
Mhm.
love that perspective. And I think again, we need to revamp the way we conduct interviews with people, and do
Right,
something differently, right?
right. Well, the old adage, hire slow and fire fast is still, one you should remember.
That's right. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Now,
Mhm.
Bob, one of the key traits of leadership, and again, in my opinion, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, is empathy. It's very important to be that empathetic leader and be authentic about it. Now, my question to a lot of folks, and I challenge people, is how do you can train a lot of things in terms of leadership. How do you train empathy?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, you can only go so far. I mean, you can take them so far. Um, you know, I think that's one thing you should be interviewing for is
Mm,
what their level of empathy is. Some people just don't have it.
that's
In
right.
my experience, I've never seen anybody say, okay, your level of empathy is at 5 points. Next week on Friday, I'd like it to be at 8 points. So come back and we'll talk then. I just don't know how you do it.
Interesting. Yeah,
Mm.
it is a difficult one, and I think you have to you kind of have to have it in you, right?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
very difficult to train somebody where, again, for me, it's learning to lead yourself first, because if you know what your strengths and weaknesses are, you can work on some of those things, right?
Right, right. Empathy a lot is listening with your heart. Do you have the ability to listen with your heart?
Yes.
And I think that's one of the core traits to a great leader.
I love that, Bob. I'm going to use that quote. Now, in your view, what is the key attribute of an effective executive leader today?
They got to be lifelong learners
Mm.
because things are changing. You're looking at Chat GPT here is a great tool. Um, if a CEO's in learning about that, he's got his people coming back with ideas on how they can use it, and sharing that, helping others learn about it, whatever, be excited about the learning. It's to me, that's one of the key things.
Awesome. So again, how do you help seasoned leaders adapt to rapidly changing business environments?
Well, we deal with it in the group. A big topic now is artificial intelligence. I
Yeah,
brought in I brought in speakers on it uh, that have demonstrated it, have given them a lot of tips. I've demonstrated different bots that they can use,
yeah,
and things to help them. So that's one way is just improve their knowledge level. And then the rest is to levels of accountability. Where have
mhm,
you taken this? What are you doing? This is my coaching part of it, and it's also the growth because in coaching, I will say to them, okay, we learned about this. Where do you think you can use it in your business? What are you going to do?
that's right.
Just ask questions and I can only hold them as accountable as they want to be, but we can keep bringing it up until something's done. And the groups will have a group discussion. Okay, on what have you done so far with it? And people are saying, well, nothing. And then there's five members that have said, well, I put it in play here. It's saving us money here. It's really improved our hiring. It's improved our, I don't know, some technology thing. And they say, if you're not doing this, you're crazy. Well, then the members that said, I don't haven't done anything, they're encouraged to get on the bandwagon.
That's right. So again, talking about AI, Bob, do you believe that AI can replace leaders in organizations, or is that something, people can utilize to enhance their leadership skills?
Um, they can't replace them. I don't think AI can be strategic in the thinking.
Hmm.
I don't think they can look out. I guess they could look out and write a paper on what they see coming, but they don't have the feeling. They don't have the gut feeling. They
Yeah,
don't, I think that's key. That's why humans are always going to have to be involved, is because we have a lot of soft skills that AI don't have, and that's very important.
awesome. So, Bob, I want to talk about employee engagement.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on employee engagement, and how important is it for organizations to, adapt some sort of uh, strategy around employee engagement in terms of measuring it, implementing initiatives, and things like that?
Boy, measuring it, I don't know if can you? Is there a test we can give to measure their engagement?
Well, Gallup's got the engagement surveys that they roll out uh,
Okay.
in organizations. Like, what's your kind of take on it?
The companies I work with, they're doing things, especially now with the hybrid working conditions. Part of people are at home, part are in the office, and they're creating ways for the employees to interact
Mhm.
and have fun together and get to know each other. I have one company that he's got a committee that picks out something fun to do,
Yes.
and plan the day or plan the afternoon. It's for all the employees, and they'll go someplace and break stuff, or they'll go throw axes or they'll go just to a picnic or whatever. It's whatever the employees come up with. Um, I have others that, just do some other form of getting together. It could be as minor as pizza day, um, happy hour Fridays. Um, it's 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 very important now. You got a team, and the employees are your team, and you want them pulling in the right direction for the
That's right.
company. I think part of engagement too is they have to understand where they're going. The vision from the leader has to be so strong that they want to follow it. They'll take the leader to the vision and
Right.
make it theirs. That's the kind of engagement you want. It's not just social, but you want them totally involved in where that company's going and know exactly where they fit, know exactly how they contribute to the P&L, and understand why they are important. And I think you'll get engagement. I think it just will come.
Absolutely.
Combination of all that stuff.
That's right. Exactly. Now,
Mhm.
I want to talk about also young leaders now. You know, going through those ranks and those stages, what are some issues you see today with young leaders, stepping up to those leadership roles, the lack of training that's there, the lack of coaching? What have you seen, and what can organizations do better, Bob?
Mhm. We have a part of one of our programs is called Emerging Leaders,
Mhm.
and it's for the young leaders in a company that are being spotted by the CEO or the upper level management that they want to keep. They
That's
know
right.
they're winners. And so Emerging Leaders is a place where they can put those people. And it's not like a regular group where we have peer advisory. It's more of a class type thing. And we teach 12 pillars of leadership.
Mm,
We'll bring in one of our speakers that speaks on that pillar. And then in the afternoon, we do a workshop and talk about how they're going to put it in play. They break out in groups and to discuss it, what it's like in their company. And they get to get a feeling for what it really means to be a leader. And I chaired one of those groups last year, and I'll tell you, they were awesome.
yeah.
They got so enthused. They were so honored to be that the CEO would pick them to be in this group, and they were excited about learning, and they learned a ton, and a bunch of them got promotions, and you know, it was just exciting for me. It was I've got a bunch of them now. I've got a next level thing. It's called Advancing Leaders, which is more for mid-level uh, leadership. And that is more like it's a peer advisory group, pure peer. We bring in speakers to that one in the morning, and in the afternoon we um, do topic discussions where they can throw things out to each other that they're facing in their business and get advice from the other guys.
Nice. Now I've got two follow-up questions for you regarding the training that you just mentioned. You talked about 12 pillars. Can you give us a sample of like what some of those pillars are? Like what a few of those pillars consist of?
Yep, self-awareness, holding people accountable,
Mhm.
patient, uh, coaching, how to coach others.
Yes.
Um, uh, yeah, I'm kind of drawing a blank here, but um,
No problem.
yeah, it's okay. I'm kind of drawing a blank.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to get a sample.
Yeah,
Now,
but those three are along the lines for sure.
absolutely. Now, again, one of the things in my journey and what I've hear from a lot of people with respect to some of these trainings, Bob, we go into training, it's a 2, 3 day, 1 day intensive training where they're pushing so much information down your throat.
Right.
How are young leaders supposed to sustain that information where when their managers or their leaders are not holding them accountable or they're not coaching them along the way, right? How do you sustain that?
I'm going to ask you, I'm going to come back with a question for you. Did you ever go to a one-day training and had it really stick with you?
I had I had some information that stuck with me,
Okay.
but I couldn't I couldn't keep everything because again, if you're not practicing it, if you're not utilizing it, it goes
Yeah,
away fast.
that's right. And that's the way I was, and I think everybody is. You can send your young employees to a training on, I don't know, accountability, holding people accountable.
That's
And
right.
they'll get something from it and they'll remember a few little gems and then it goes away. They don't get a chance to practice. That's what I'm going to do a little commercial for Vistage. That's why Vistage is so successful. It's ongoing training.
Ah,
I've got members that have been in my group for 18 years
wow.
and they still find value and they're still there and they're still learning all the time. And you've got to get learning, reinforce learning, try learning, and do it again. And that's why I think we are successful.
That's right. No, I love the peer to peer because I think when you create those leadership communities and people can bounce ideas off each other or help each other, it's
Mhm.
huge, right?
Exactly.
Invaluable.
And CEOs like to listen to CEOs.
Mm.
They believe other CEOs.
Yeah,
Everybody else is a salesman
that's right.
in their life.
That's right. Absolutely. So I want to talk about delegation now. So delegations are crucial yet challenging for many leaders, as you know. What
Right.
advice do you offer to improve delegation skills among executives?
Be crystal clear in your expectations.
Hmm.
That's the main one. When you decide to delegate something to somebody, don't abdicate.
Yes.
That's a lot of times it's just, I got to get this off my plate. Charlie, will you get this done sometime for me? And then when they don't get it done, you're surprised, right? No, you got to say, this is what I need from you. Um, I'd like it by this Friday at 2 o'clock. Be crystal clear on the time frame and say, can I count on you for that? So you have a commitment.
Yes.
That's one way to improve accountability. Then Friday at 2 o'clock, if you haven't got it, you walk into their office and say, I see I don't have this. What's your plan? You know, why don't I? And when can I have it? And what are you going to commit to? What time will you have it to me? Crystal clear, not just, oh, next week, into next week sometime. No, Thursday at 3, you know.
Absolutely.
So you have something to hold them accountable for. And then if they miss it that time, that's a different discussion. That's not accountability anymore. That's, are they the right person for the job?
That's right. Absolutely. And I think, that's the tone and that's the culture you want to create where, there is accountability, there are expectations in place, and people will learn from that
Yeah, absolutely.
and they'll pass it down, right?
And they respect it
Yes,
because they know where they stand and they know that this is a no BS kind of company.
that's
We're
right.
gonna get we're gonna get stuff done here.
That's right. Absolutely. So
Hmm.
now let's talk about risks, Bob. The role of risk taking in leadership and growth. How do you coach leaders to manage and embrace risk?
Well, there's a lot of ways to manage risk with insurance and I don't know, different ways you structure deals.
Mhm.
There's a lot of ways, but you've got to be comfortable with risk.
Mm,
That's the main thing. You've got to be comfortable with jumping out on a ledge about, let's develop this product. We think it could be a game stopper, so let this get this done. We don't know if it is or not, but we need to invest or whatever. And that's more of the risk you can't manage. And that you've got to be comfortable with taking those kind of risks. And failure is fine, you
That's
learn
right.
from failure. As long as you don't fail twice at the same thing, then that's
Yeah.
not another conversation.
They
Mhm.
say, failure the first time is an accident or whatever you want to call it. The
Ah,
second time is a choice.
failure is an opportunity. The
Yes.
second time is a choice.
Yes,
If it's
absolutely.
if it's the same thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So can you provide us with an example of a risk that paid off significantly for one of your clients?
Oh yeah, bunches of them. I have a real estate developer and they take risk on all the time. They will look at a property that they want to buy it because they have a vision of what it could be. There's no guarantees there.
That's
And
right.
I've seen them, take a risk on a bare piece of land and show $100 million profit on it. I mean, or you get zero and you're just stuck with paying taxes on land for the next 10 years, you know? So just those kind of risks are one. Um, Manufacturing, coming out with new products, a new marketing tactic, anything that's a new expense to the business is risk.
That's
So
right.
you have to be able to have a tolerance for
Absolutely.
it. Mhm.
Absolutely. Now, Bob, with respect to, the access you have over, I believe, 35 countries in your global network of 45,000 board members, what unique perspective do international executives bring to the table?
Oh, bunches. Doing business in another country could be a lot harder than
Yes.
doing business here. And they naturally have different perspectives they can offer. Um, we have a thing we call well, it's our network, and they're in a lot of different networks, manufacturing, real estate, all kinds of them. And it's open to any member in the world to
Hmm.
be part of that. And they can throw out questions to all the other members in the world and ask for feedback. And they get it. And that works pretty well. I'm presuming it works pretty well. I am one chair out of probably 750 in the United States
Wow.
and I guess 3,000 in the world. I don't know. So I have my perspective and I have my group, and that's where I play.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. Now, before we come to the end of our show, I like to go through a segment where I call rapid fire questions. So I'll
Sure.
be throwing out a whole bunch of questions at you, and first things that comes to mind for you, Bob.
Okay.
All right. So, what is your advice to leaders who want to get on a board?
I've got some of them doing that now, and they, if the need, I've got one leader that's really well known in the franchising industry,
Hmm.
and so she's got offers coming all the time. Others that want to get on a board, um, put the word out in your community.
Hmm.
Start there. I get solicited a couple, by two different groups that always got boards for me to be on. They always want my opinion. But then when I look at it, I have to pay a fee to be in their database,
Oh,
which means it's just like a phone book for people that want to be on boards. And that's one way to do it. I don't know if that's effective or not. Um, Advisory boards. A lot of my members want advisory boards, from local people in the community. They might be past competitors that have now sold their business and they're looking for something to do. They make great members for your advisory board for your company. So there's opportunities there. start with advisory boards. Some of them are paid. And the bigger the board, the bigger the company, the more you get paid. But you're not going to get on the board of AT&T tomorrow.
Yes.
It's not going to happen.
I think you need a little bit of experience and, some good relationships to do that.
Right, right.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob. So what is the best advice that you've ever received along your journey?
Oh, slow down,
Mm,
not be so in a hurry. You can skip steps when you're in a hurry, and
exactly.
those steps can bite you in the rear end. Hmm.
That's right.
That was probably the best.
Now, what is the worst advice you've ever received?
Oh boy, it's I've forgotten. I mean, it's probably somebody that um, doesn't have my interests at heart,
Mm,
and they think they know everything, and they give me advice, and maybe I've taken it and it hasn't worked out so well. I now just disregard that kind of advice.
that's right.
I take it from trusted sources,
Ah,
people
excellent.
I respect. Mhm.
That's right. Absolutely. So Bob, in your opinion, what is the most difficult emotion for a leader to control?
Anger.
Mm.
You got to be cool headed. And sometimes things just piss you off.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you've got to be able to put it down and come back in the moment and be cool and collected and deal with the problem.
I'm surprised. So why didn't you say fear, Bob?
Mhm. My guys never talk about fear.
Interesting.
So I don't think it is a big, they've got their risks handled. They've got great teams. They got good place in the markets. So they don't see fear.
Amazing.
I think that's maybe lack of fear is a something that's a good trait in leadership.
Mm, that's right.
I
Absolutely.
hadn't thought about it.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, what is the best word to describe Bob? What is the one best word to describe Bob?
Caring. One member says it's even in your name. Care
Yeah.
for others. Care others. She said you're easy to read. You just care for your everybody.
Amazing. That
Mhm.
that's that's an excellent that's excellent to have, Bob. And
Oh
I
yeah.
definitely greatly appreciate you. And last but not least, where can people find you, Bob?
Um, it my I'm on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me there. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. I post a lot of stuff.
Awesome.
I'm also through Vistage.com, and you can reach out to me directly at b at bob.carruthers@vistagechair.com.
Awesome. Excellent. And I'll put that information um, on the podcast as well. Again, I wanted to thank you so much, Bob, for being with me today and sharing your valuable knowledge, experience, and stories with the folks out there. Again, greatly appreciate your time. For the folks out there, thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. If you've got any questions for Bob, you can drop it in the box below, or you can contact them directly. And any questions that I get, I'll make sure that it goes to Bob directly as well. Again,
Perfect.
thank you so much, everyone. And thank you again, Bob. And see you in the next episode.
All right. Thank you. It's been fun. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, everyone.